Welcome back to our lecture series on sustainable finance. In the last video, we ended on the chain that shares catastrophe risk. Now let's walk that chain properly, starting with reinsurance and its vocabulary, because the jargon here trips up a lot of students. The primary insurer that passes on part of its risk is called the cedent, or ceding company. It cedes risk. The company that accepts that risk is the reinsurer, sometimes called the assuming insurer. But it doesn't stop there. The reinsurer can, in turn, reinsure part of its own book. That is called retrocession, and the party taking it on is the retrocessionaire. In this way, a single hurricane's risk gets spread across the entire global market. Two more distinctions worth knowing. Reinsurance can be treaty, covering a whole portfolio automatically, or facultative, negotiated for a single specific risk. And it can be proportional, where the reinsurer takes a fixed share of premiums and losses, or non-proportional, the classic excess of loss cover, where the reinsurer only pays once losses climb above an agreed threshold. That excess of loss form is exactly what you want for catastrophes, protection against the extreme. Let me make the proportional versus non-proportional distinction concrete, because it matters. Under a proportional treaty, the reinsurer might take, say, 30% of every policy, 30% of the premiums, and 30% of every loss, large or small. Under a non-proportional excess of loss treaty, the reinsurer pays nothing until total losses breach an agreed threshold, the attachment point, and only then covers losses above it, up to a limit. So excess of loss leaves the primary insurer to handle the ordinary, predictable losses it's perfectly capable of absorbing, while transferring only the rare, ruinous tail. That's an efficient division of labor. Keep the risk you understand, cede the risk that could bankrupt you. Now, sometimes even reinsurance isn't enough. For a truly enormous catastrophe, the combined capacity of insurers and reinsurers may simply run out. This is where the capital markets step in. A catastrophe bond, or cat bond in short, transfers insurance risk directly to investors. The mechanics are elegant. Investors buy the bond and earn an attractive coupon. But if a defined catastrophe occurs, they lose some or all of their principal, and that money goes to pay claims. So investors are, in effect, being paid to stand behind a hurricane. Cat bonds are part of a broader family called insurance-linked securities. And for investors, there's a genuine appeal beyond the yield. A hurricane in Florida has essentially nothing to do with the stock market or interest rates. So these instruments are wonderfully diversifying. Their risk is uncorrelated with the rest of a portfolio. Think about what that means for a big pension fund or a hedge fund. In a year when equities crash because of a recession, a cat bond keeps paying its coupon as long as no hurricane strikes. Its fate depends on the weather, not the economy. That genuine diversification is rare and valuable, which is why specialized insurance-linked securities funds have grown into a substantial asset class of their own. There is, though, a sustainability question lurking here that's worth flagging. Cat bonds transfer risk brilliantly, but they don't reduce it. The house in the hurricane's path is still there. So while these instruments make catastrophes more insurable, they are a tool for sharing climate risk, not for preventing it, and we shouldn't confuse the two. Let's look inside one. The insurer that wants protection, the sponsor, cedes its risk to a special purpose vehicle, an SPV. That vehicle issues the bonds to investors and holds their cash as collateral in a safe account. Investors earn a high coupon made up of two parts: the yield on that collateral, plus a risk spread for bearing the catastrophe risk. If nothing happens, they get their principal back at maturity. If the defined trigger is hit, the collateral is released to the sponsor to pay claims, and investors take the loss. Those triggers come in three flavors. An indemnity trigger is based on the sponsor's actual losses. An industry loss trigger is based on total losses across the whole insurance industry. And a parametric trigger is based on a physical measurement, say a wind speed or an earthquake magnitude. Real examples include USAA's residential RE bonds, Allstate's Sanders RE, and even the World Bank issuing cat bonds on behalf of sovereign governments. Why would the sponsor bother with all this structure rather than just buying more reinsurance? Two reasons. First, capacity. The capital markets are enormous compared with the reinsurance sector, so cat bonds tap a far deeper pool of money for the very largest risks. And second, credit safety. This is subtle but important. Because the investor's cash sits in a collateral account from day one, the sponsor doesn't have to worry that its reinsurer might itself go bust just when a mega catastrophe strikes and everyone is claiming at once. The money is already there, ring-fenced. In effect, the cat bond removes counterparty risk from the equation. And after events where reinsurers were stretched, that reassurance is worth paying for. And this market has been booming. Let me give you three numbers from the 2024 market report by Artemis. First, issuance in 2024 reached a record of about $17.7 billion of new cat bonds in a single year. Second, the total outstanding market hit an all-time high of around $49.5 billion. And third, 13 first-time sponsors entered the market in 2024, new insurers, and even governments and corporates, turning to capital market investors for catastrophe protection. The message is clear. As catastrophe risk grows, the traditional insurance and reinsurance system is increasingly reaching out to the deep pool of global capital to share the load. Why did the market boom so much in 2024 specifically? Two forces came together. On the demand side, rising catastrophe losses and a hard reinsurance market, where traditional reinsurers had raised their prices sharply, pushed sponsors to look for alternative capacity. On the supply side, cat bonds were offering unusually high yields, which drew investors in at a time when they were hungry for returns uncorrelated with turbulent stock and bond markets. So the boom is not just a story about climate, it's also about the price of capital and where investors could find attractive, diversifying yield. Keep that dual driver in mind. It explains why this market can expand and contract quite sharply from year to year. I mentioned parametric triggers on cat bonds. Now let's treat parametric insurance in its own right, because it's one of the most important tools for closing protection gaps. Traditional insurance pays out based on an assessed loss. An adjuster inspects the damage and calculates what you're owed. Parametric or index-based insurance does something different. It pays out automatically when a measurable trigger is crossed. A certain wind speed, a certain amount of rainfall. The advantages are speed and simplicity. There's no lengthy claims process, so money arrives fast and admin costs are low, which is ideal for climate shocks and for underserved markets where traditional insurance barely reaches. A classic use case is agricultural insurance for smallholder farmers in developing countries. Instead of sending an assessor to inspect every small plot, which would cost more than the policy is worth, the insurer simply pays out when rainfall measured at a nearby weather station falls below a threshold that signals drought. Fast, cheap, and scalable to millions of farmers. This same logic scales up to whole countries through sovereign risk pools, where groups of nations pool their climate risk together. For example, CCRIF in the Caribbean, African Risk Capacity, and the Pacific Catastrophe Risk Pool. These are a key tool for closing the protection gap in the most vulnerable regions. The idea is powerful. Individually, a small island nation is too exposed and too small to insure affordably, but pooled together, a diversified group of countries becomes an attractive, insurable risk. The same law of large numbers we met earlier, now applied at the level of nations. Let's make that concrete with CCRIF, the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility. It's a sovereign parametric risk pool of around 20 member governments. Payouts are triggered by a modeled hazard index, wind, rainfall, or earthquake intensity, rather than by sending assessors to inspect every damaged building. And the payoff of that design is speed. After the 2021 Haiti earthquake, CCRIF paid out roughly $40 million within 14 days. Fast liquidity at exactly the moment a government needs cash for emergency response. In 2024, it made record payouts. In 2024, it made record payouts after Hurricane Beryl. But there is a trade-off, and it's important. It's called basis risk. Because the payout is tied to an index rather than to actual damage, the money you receive may not exactly match the loss you suffered. You might get slightly too much, or, more painfully, slightly too little. That's the price you pay for speed and simplicity. But think about why that trade-off is often worth making, especially for a poor or disaster-prone country. After a major hurricane, a government faces its largest bills at the exact moment its economy and its tax revenue has collapsed. Traditional aid and loss assessment can take months to arrive. A parametric payout arrives in days, based on an objective index that nobody can dispute or delay. That early liquidity lets a government pay emergency workers, restore power, and reopen schools before the damage compounds. Economists call this building back better, faster, and there's growing evidence that the speed of the payout matters almost as much as its size. Slightly imperfect money now can be worth far more than perfectly calculated money a year from now. This image shows the kind of hazard we've been talking about. A coastal storm surge, water pushing inland and inundating homes and streets. It's a vivid reminder of why these mechanisms matter. Risk pools and parametric covers exist precisely to share the rising cost of climate-driven hazards like this one, spreading a blow that would be devastating to a single household or a single small island state across a much wider base of insurers, reinsurers, and global investors. To sum up this video, catastrophe risk is shared along a chain, and each link adds capacity. Reinsurance lets primary insurers pass on risk, with excess of loss cover targeting the extreme tail. Cat bonds push risk beyond the insurance industry entirely into a fast-growing capital market that topped $49 billion outstanding in 2024. And parametric insurance and sovereign risk pools deliver fast, index-based payouts, trading a bit of basis risk for speed, to reach exactly the people and places that traditional insurance leaves behind. But here's the sobering thing to carry into the next video. We've just spent 15 minutes on an impressively sophisticated system. Reinsurance, retrocession, cat bonds, parametric pools, engineered by some of the smartest people in finance. And yet, even with all this machinery, a huge share of climate losses is still not covered at all. That tells you the problem is not a lack of clever financial instruments, it's something deeper, about affordability, about who can pay, and about risks growing faster than the system can absorb them. That gap, the protection gap, is where we go next. See you in the following video.